I've spent the last few weeks watching friends' travel vlogs, scrolling through TikTok reels, and scrolling through a sea of best camcorder lists. The one thing that kept coming up was the same frustration: a camera that looks slick on the product page, but when you actually try to capture a sunset or a family birthday, the footage feels flat, the focus hunting, the battery dying halfway through the event. If you're tired of buying gear that looks great in the thumbnail but ends up being a disappointment, you're in the right place. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Panasonic HCVX981K is marketed as a 4K Ultra HD camcorder with a 20x optical zoom, a backside illuminated sensor, and HDR video capture. It's positioned as a step up from the entry-level point-and-shoot world, aiming at hobbyists who want more creative control without the complexity of a mirrorless system. The first question I asked myself was, does it actually deliver on that promise when you're out in the real world, not just behind a desk? Let's start with ease of use. Panasonic's menu system is traditionally laid out like a classic camcorder: a large mode dial, a few dedicated buttons for zoom, playback, and a touchscreen that doubles as the playback screen and quick setting hub. In practice, that means you can start recording almost blindfolded, press the red button and you're rolling. The touchscreen, however, can become a little finicky under bright sunlight. The icons wash out and you often have to tap harder than you'd like. For a beginner who just wants to point, shoot, and share, the physical controls compensate for the screen's occasional stubbornness, but if you expect a seamless touchscreen experience like you see on a smartphone, you'll notice the gap. Autofocus confidence is a big deal for any camcorder that claims to be ready for the moment. The HCVX981K uses a contrast detect system that is speedy enough for most daylight scenes, locking onto subjects within a second or two. The real test comes when the subject moves quickly or when you're filming in a crowded frame. I tried recording a child running across a park and found the focus lagged just enough to make the face slightly soft at the peak of the action. In a static interview setting, though, the AF worked flawlessly. The camera locked onto the speaker's eyes and held focus even as they gestured. So, if your content is more about steady interviews, family gatherings, or slow panning landscapes, the autofocus is reliable. If you're chasing fast sports or wildlife, you might want a camera with phase detect AF or manual focus rings. Low light behavior is where the 1/2.3-inch BSI sensor starts to show its value. BSI, backside illuminated, sensors historically pull more light into each pixel, and Panasonic's implementation does improve the base ISO range. In a dimly lit restaurant, the camcorder produced footage with usable detail and minimal noise, especially when you enabled the HDR movie mode. HDR takes two exposures and merges them, preserving highlights while lifting shadow detail, which is perfect for a candlelit dinner or a sunset at the beach. That being said, the sensor size is still relatively small compared to interchangeable lens cameras, so at very low light, say a concert hall with stage lighting at 10 lux, you'll start to see grain and a loss of fine detail. For most hobbyist scenarios, evening walks, indoor parties, or backyard barbecues, the low-light performance is more than adequate, but you shouldn't expect cinema-grade roll-off. Stabilization is built into the lens, offering 5-axis optical image stabilization, OIS. In my hands-on tests, the camcorder handled the typical hand tremor of walking with a coffee in hand very well. You can see a smooth, almost glide-like motion when you pan across a city skyline or follow a moving subject. If you attach the optional tripod, the stabilization becomes almost unnecessary, but the advantage is you can stay mobile and still get a steady shot. The only downside is that the zoom motor produces a faint whine when you crank up to 20x. In a quiet setting, that mechanical noise can be picked up by the built-in microphone, so using an external mic or recording indoors where ambient noise masks it is advisable. Battery confidence is a practical point that many reviewers skip, but it matters when you're on a day-long shoot. The HCVX981K ships with a 4000 mAh lithium-ion pack that Panasonic rates for roughly 110 minutes of continuous 4K recording. In real testing, I managed about 90 minutes before the battery icon turned red. If you're filming a full wedding ceremony or a multi-hour travel vlog, you'll definitely need a spare battery. The good news is the camcorder's power connector doubles as a USB-C input, so you can charge it on the go with a power bank, a convenience that many older camcorders lack. Now, who should buy this camcorder? If you're a hobbyist who already owns a smartphone and wants a dedicated device that can shoot 4K without draining your phone's battery, this is a solid upgrade. It shines for travel enthusiasts who need a compact, all-in-one solution that can handle a variety of lighting conditions. Thanks.